You guys are literally romanticizing influencing and management and idolizing it. You guys think that your only role as a creator is to create content, grow your followers, go viral, work on those views, work on that engagement. And then when it comes to the monetization part, you just want everything to just fall on your lap. Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to chat about my highly coveted, most requested service that creators and influencers literally come to me every single day inside my DMs, in my comments, through my website, and that's influencer management. And I'm about to burst your bubble about influencer management today because it doesn't matter how many followers you have. You don't actually need one. And I've been in this industry too long for me to not share with you guys the patterns that I see with the rise and the fall of a creator's career. So we're going to chat all things management, what managers do. Will you actually succeed with one with where your career is at right now? I'm going to debunk some myths for you, maybe refine those expectations of, management and how you want to take your business to the next level. When should you be looking for a manager? So if right now you're overwhelmed in doing all the things in your creator business, securing brand deals, monetizing, having sustainability in your career, you're feeling lost and confused. Maybe you've done everything in your power to figure everything out yourself, whether that's pricing, negotiating, attracting brands, building relationships with brands, but nothing is working. And you're at a point where you need help. I'm going to help you identify what kind of help you actually need at your level of business to move the needle forward, because it's not always going to be a manager. So every single time I get into my DMs or I open my phone and I read my comments on posts that are performing really well, getting really high engagement, you guys are literally romanticizing influencing and management and idolizing it. You guys think that your only role as a creator is to create content, grow your followers, go viral, work on those views, work on that engagement. And then when it comes to the monetization part, you just want everything to just fall on your lap. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. It probably works on less than 1% of influencers and creators. And it's actually funny because in the beginning, I didn't even want to, tell people that I was an influencer talent manager. And I'll dive into the story a little bit. And I remember September, October of 2020, that was kind of like the height of when people didn't really know what was happening with the pandemic, how it's going to affect cash flow, business, everything. And that was during the time when I got laid off. And so I was obviously excited for, not being able to get tied down by my job anymore because I've been trying to leave it for a couple years. And in that same vein, I was very afraid. And I would have freakouts every single morning. I would have panic attacks of like, where am I going to get my rent? How am I going to do this? Do I need to give up my apartment and move back home? Do I need to find another job? And every single day I would have conversations with my manager at the time, who is now my colleague. I was venting to him because a lot of the brand deals that I had secured were getting pulled left and right because brands were afraid of how, the pandemic was going to affect cash flow. And usually the first thing that they cut when it comes to budgets is marketing. And one day my manager called me up and he's like, I have an idea for you. I don't know if this is even something that you were willing to consider, but you and I have had really great conversations about negotiating. You're the only one who has her head screwed on right. You know what to do. You know how to direct your manager. You know how the business works. You and I kind of align on responses to brands, how to go about it, how to be professional. At the time, I was already offering coaching to my friends, and I thought really hard about it. It was obviously very flattering that my manager at the time thought I would be worthy of this position, because to me, it was such a huge responsibility to be in charge of someone else's income, especially, creators who have already generated that kind of income on their own before. I wasn't sure if, my knowledge on negotiation, pricing, and how to handle brand partnerships was enough for these big creators. But also at the same time, I was like, I'm going to take this on as a challenge to myself just to see if, the things that I'm teaching, the things that I believe to be true actually works on other people. And so I told him I'd do it, but I told him, let's not make any announcements that I'm a talent manager. I honestly didn't even want to come out with it because I didn't know how I was going to do. I was like, okay, let's start small. And then maybe once I get, $100,000 in brand partnerships, then we can announce it publicly on social media, on Clubhouse, things like that, and actually put it on the website that I'm part of the team. We were running buddies for a while and it was awesome. And it opened up my perspective about the industry, to be honest. But the moment that I started talking about it on TikTok and a few of my videos went viral, and since then, literally, I get influxes of requests for management, even though I am very, very clear on my expectations. And it's just crazy to me how much misinformation there is about management and how much you guys idolize this, because you guys see my results. And even if I'm very, very clear that, the results, I am moving because they've generated those results to begin with, or if it was a result from someone that I was coaching and someone that I was mentoring, the details of it don't even matter. It just flies by you. You see 20K, 10K, and you think the manager is the solution. And to me, you guys, getting managed doesn't automatically mean that you'll go from making $0 to six figures. And yes, I have management clients who I'm very, very proud of who make 30K months, but I don't just create that out of nowhere. They've already had that kind of demand and those kind of results to begin with. I was just able to scale it very easily and effectively. As a manager, I leverage the visibility and credibility that these creators already have in the influencer marketing space. And that, you guys, goes beyond followers and engagement. And I think, in my expert opinion, you are wasting your time doing that instead of taking ownership of how can I learn to turn this into a lucrative career that lasts 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. Because management doesn't work for everyone, especially when the creator doesn't generate results on their own. And I don't know if you guys know this, even Alex Earl got rejected by the first manager that she reached out to. And I'll talk about, what are the things managers take a look at when they're evaluating potential clients. And maybe at that time, Alex Earl didn't really have all of her ducks in a row. Like, she had potential, but she didn't have the results that managers were looking for. And so let's talk about it. What are the expectations of influencers and creators around management? And what are most of them looking for and why? So every single time I get a comment or a DM asking for management, why would you need a manager? Like, what is it that you think a manager can do for you? Or how do you think a manager is going to change the results in your business? For the most part, I get this response of, I just want to get a manager to get me brand deals. I just want to get a manager to connect me with brands. I just want a manager to make me money. Let's work together, be my manager, and let's make money together. There's always that expectation that the manager is going to do the heavy lifting and the manager is going to be motivated to make money by actively seeking out those brand deals for this creator. And I'm going to debunk some myths, because a lot of that is actually a very wrong mindset around management and what that level actually looks like when you're a creator who succeeds with a manager. So I'm going to read, I have a list here. So influencers and creators think that managers have all the brand connections, that they will actively seek out brand deals for the creator, that they should be motivated to help creators make money, that you are more credible, there is clout around when you're being represented, and it makes you a working creator when you have representation. And the last one that I put it on here is that because managers only make money off of commission, that it is low risk to work with one. So let's debunk all of this. So yes, managers generally will have more brand connections because they work with different types of creators, they have a whole roster, and they're connected with whoever these creators are connected with. And we also build relationships outside of our roster. And we usually maintain those relationships after, having partnered with them, or maybe at a mixer or networking event. But this is the thing. any influencer creator can actually make those connections as well. It's not only because, you know, a manager is like all official and stuff that you can't seek out and network and make those connections yourself. Are there events in my area? Are there going to be brands there? Are there going to be PR agencies there that I can connect with? Who are the PR agencies in my area? How can I email them and connect with them, have coffee or have lunch with them and see how they work with influencers? It doesn't matter how many brand connections a manager has. Brands still have the final say. As a manager, when I see that there is a brand partnership going on for, you know, let's say one client, and I know that it aligns very well with another client of mine, then I'll connect them and present them to this brand as well. But that's not necessarily always going to work because brands still have the final say. A brand can get, let's say, 100 creators from an agency's roster. They're not going to pick all of them, even though they are aligned with the brand. They have similar content as the, let's say, the original creator that they hired. And I don't think you guys understand this. The misalignment can be so minute that it doesn't work out. And in that same vein, being marketable is also a very important skill. If you're not already attracting brands to begin with the content that you're producing and you're putting out there, it's not going to change much when you hire a manager. And then the next myth of managers actually actively seeking out brand deals for the creator, that they should be motivated to help creators make money. We make money, you make money, that kind of stuff. I don't think you guys understand this, that because we only earn money off of commission, like when a creator makes money, we get paid. Like there's a lot of unpaid hours that goes behind that. And I'm sure you guys know this. Not every brand conversation, not every negotiation turns into a contract. A lot of the times, a lot of these conversations fall through. And when we have those unpaid hours of like negotiating back and forth and nothing happens, sometimes it can be as long as like months. For us, because I only have 24 hours in a day and I don't even use all my 24 hours in a day for management, I have to make an educated risk. Like I can't be spending my time actively seeking out brand partners to work with and, you know, cold pitching and things like that when I could be using that time that I've allotted for being a manager to negotiate a deal where the brand is already interested. It's already warm. And the only thing that I'm doing is moving the conversation down to a contract. And so it has to be already at that point where the brand is already interested. It's going to be an unproductive use of my time if all I'm doing in my inbox is sending out emails to brands that I've never communicated with, to brands that have never heard of the creators that maybe I'm managing. That's not how my day looks like. And another thing that's funny is that a lot of creators feel this sense of pride and validation when they get a manager. They're like, oh my God, yes, I have a manager now. I'm official. I'm a professional. Like, no one gives you a badge that you are a working professional more than you getting work consistently. And I know this is because of the culture that influencers and creators have created, that you just want to be part of the cool crew. And being in the influencer industry, I've seen this kind of hierarchy going around when you go to influencer creator events, and part of the icebreaker conversation that influencers and creators usually have is like, who are you represented by? Who's your manager? Obviously, like, you know, they mean well, and sometimes in these rooms you don't really know what to talk about, especially when you spend most of your time filming on a phone or like filming on a camera. Interacting with another individual is not normal in your line of work. You know, when you're not represented, you get this feeling of like you're the odd one out, you don't fit in. That gives that creator the feeling that I need to get a manager. Like, in order for people to take me seriously, I need to get a manager. And actually, you know what? This is untrue. Like, I know a lot of you guys think that like, oh, a brand is going to take me more seriously if I hire a manager. And in fact, it's untrue. There are some brands who actually hate talking to me. And sometimes they will take me out of CC. They will only talk to my clients. Sometimes they'll have side conversations in the DMs, even though my clients are actually telling me what these brands are saying like in this conversation. And so, they constantly have to loop me back in. And sometimes brands just don't want to talk to a middleman and they want to connect with the creator. And so you guys have to understand that, brands hire influencers and creators. They don't hire managers. And so if brands aren't taking you seriously, it ultimately comes down to the way that you're communicating and the way that you're presenting yourself and the way that you're positioning yourself to a brand and whether or not you're taking this seriously, if this is a hobby to you or if this is your career or if it's your job. And the last myth that I'm going to debunk today, because managers only make money off of commission, that it is low risk to work with one. And yes, I agree. When I start a contract with a creator that I'm managing, there's no upfront fee and I only make money once I land them their first brand deal. I think you guys need to understand that it has to be an equal risk when you're working with someone. The creators that we onboard into management, the creators at this level, the creators who are most qualified for management, understand the 20% of that income that they're giving up. To them, it's a lot of money that they're giving up, but they need to give it up in order for them to scale and in order for them to free up their time. And for me, you only think that it's low risk now because you're not making anything. Like, your business should be at a point where it's sustainable to have a team member. And that's how you should always look at it. Like, I've had situations where I've had a creator start with me as their manager and making 10K months. And when things started to slow down, they weren't able to afford like paying me the 20% every single time. And so we had to dissolve the contract. They were like, I need 100% of the income that's coming in, and I cannot sustain working with a manager because I'm not nearly making enough. And for me, if let's say you're only making $1,000 per brand deal or $500 per brand deal, I would much rather have you keep 100% of it than have to take little bits of that money every single time. Like, that to me, like, I feel horrible even doing that. And that's why for me, I am always evaluating whether or not I am able to take whatever is existing for a creator and influencer and be able to take that to the next level. And it's so funny because every single time I turn away a person asking for management and maybe offer an alternative solution, because I do have coaching programs, I have courses and things like that, I get this reaction that creators think it's useless, that managers only bring on creators and influencers who have had success than the influencers who quote unquote need help. And so I always get this question of like, well, if I knew how to secure brand deals, I wouldn't be looking for a manager. And that's really the wrong way of thinking about it, because you literally don't want to do the hard work of actually figuring out how to make this work, how to monetize properly, how to secure these brand deals, how to have these relationships with brands long term. Like, you just think, okay, like, because this is probably going to be the easiest way for me to hit a 6-figure income as an influencer and creator, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it my mission to talk to every single agency to secure me a brand deal, to give me a chance, and then that will be my chance at success. And I think the reason for that is because a lot of you guys don't actually know what a manager does or can do, because you haven't done the work for yourself and have gotten good results. You don't know how your business works, and you think that just passing the keys off to a manager will solve that problem, that they will just magically bring you deals, they will bring the pot of gold. But no, it unfortunately doesn't work that way. Your success working with a manager depends on you knowing how to run your business first. You need to know how to manage yourself first. So Naomi, what do managers look for in creators? Why is the bar so high for qualifying for one? So for me, there's really 3 things that I pay attention to when I onboard or I qualify a potential creator. So the first one is visibility. That means you are actively showing up on your socials. You have a content schedule, consistent viewership, consistent engagement. You create content around brands that you love already organically. If I see brand partnerships in the last 3 months on your feed, that's really a good sign. which leads me to my second point, which is demand. Is there something to manage? And so when I ask questions, I always ask, like, who are the brands that are in your inbox, if you can give examples. And once I hear brands that I'm familiar with, brands that I've worked with, brands are available in stores, things like that, I immediately know that there's demand. And the last one is proof of income and consistency. So for me, I need to be able to see a pattern of what you've done in the past, managing yourself. I know that you are going to be collaborative with me when we are working together. And for me personally, I know other managers have different criteria. My criteria for being in my personal roster is 8K months, and it needs to be consistent 8K months. I've made that mistake of, giving someone a chance the moment that they hit that 8K month and it didn't work out. And I shouldn't have done that. That was a lesson on my end to be like, okay, I need to see a pattern first before I onboard her. But because she reached out to me twice, I was like, okay, let's do it. And, that was one of the reasons why, my bar is so high. Like sometimes I will make an exception here and there, especially if I connect with the creator or like I vibed really well with them in the call. And for the most part, it has bitten me in the ass because their business wasn't prepared to have a manager in the first place. And for me, like every single time, that's a lesson learned of like, this is why my bar is high. This is why I always qualify creators before working with me. This is why I ask these questions and I have these boundaries because what does 8K months and a busy inbox indicate to me? So when a creator is already making 8K months or more, they have a busy inbox, they're seeking management, this indicates to me that they've done the work, they are on demand, they are marketable, that they will also keep me on check. They are going to be accountable. They have, their own way of organizing their brand deals. They have a content calendar. They will be collaborative. And so it's not just up to me to make all the decisions. They know what they need to do. They know, okay, this is the lowest that I can take on a brand deal. And they're very intentional about all of the brands that they work with. And they're very hands-on. They're organized. They're professional. They can get things done on time. They're accountable. How to manage themselves. And another indicator for me is when a creator understands the numbers that they bring in monthly and they ask the kind of questions that really seek reassurance that, the manager-influencer relationship will bring them more money than they've ever been able to do on their own. And so for them, the investment is a risk, but it's a risk that they're willing to take. Because that can mean, negotiating more money in the offers that are in their inbox so that they can have the time to generate more income streams, or that, the manager is bringing in work from the manager side. And it's not because they're not making consistent income in brand deals now, but because they know they're giving up about 15 to 20% of their income to someone else. And so am I at a point where I can live off of the 80%? And if you are able to live off of the 80%, then yes, by all means, hire a manager. And when you're on that level, like these creators understand that amount of money can actually hurt. And that's why a lot of them contemplate, a lot of them interview as many agencies as possible before making a decision. They're not so quick to be like, yes, I'm going to hand you my business. I'm going to give you the keys to my car and I'm going to let you drive it the way that you want to. Like, no, they're very intentional about, okay, I've been able to succeed and make, let's say, 6 figures by myself. Am I willing to trust another person to bring me the same amount of money or more? And they also know how to evaluate if their manager is doing a good job or not, because not all managers are created equal. Not all managers were immersed in the influencer space before taking on the role of being a talent manager. They may only understand the industry on the negotiation level. They may only have that kind of skill set, but nothing else. So who is the creator at this level? So when you are at this level where, okay, Naomi, I am ready for a manager, this is where you need to be. These creators, they know how to attract brands. They have a plan. They're busy. They think forward. They're always thinking about long term. They're playing the long game of this aligns with me so well, because when I, decided that I wanted to be a full-time content creator, I had a hard conversation with myself of like, Naomi, like you have 2 degrees in engineering. You have a management degree and you have the structural engineering degree. Are you really willing to risk all of that plus your 10 years of experience of being an engineer and project manager for this entirely new career that you didn't really study or have a lot of experience in? You're still a small creator. The hard conversation that I had to have was like, how do I want this career to look like 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, retirement? What do I want to do about being an influencer and creator when I'm 50? And that is, the mindset that you need to have before, building a business, scaling a business, things like that. Another quality this creator should have is, are you building relationships with quality brands and big PR agencies now? Are you actively networking and going to events and doing your research and presenting yourself and introducing yourself and actively engaging with brands that you actually want to work with? Or are you just going to leave that off to a manager because you don't know how to do that yourself? Is your content marketable? Are your followers primed and nurtured to get influenced every single time you recommend them something? Like, do you know the value that you bring to the table and how that benefits the brand? Is there alignment with you and the brand's goals? And do you know how to articulate that when you're communicating with the brand, when you're reaching out to them? These creators know what to do, what buttons to push when the work is low. They know, hey, like my brand deal inbounds have become a lot slower than it was last year. They're going to ask questions of like, is this normal? Has the market shifted? What can I do in order to either pivot the content or to reconnect with the brands that I've worked with or introduce myself to new brands? They take full ownership of the results. They don't play the blame game. And for a lot of creators who, bring in management before their business was ready, when they end up leaving, their agency or terminating the contract, a lot of them play the blame game of like, you didn't bring me any brand deals. I don't think you guys understand that it's a collaborative effort. Like, it is more your business than it is the manager's. And so the manager is going to do what they're supposed to do, which is answer emails, negotiate, and land you the best deal as much as possible. But it starts from the top down. It starts from the creator itself. They take full ownership and accountability of those results of like, okay, I understand why I haven't been getting a lot of brand partnerships because my reach has gone down. I know that my energy's been low lately, or like I know that I haven't been changing it up, or like I haven't been pitching myself. Like, they understand those things. They are hands-on and collaborative on conversations with brands. They understand that it's a team effort, that just because I'm handing you the keys to my car doesn't mean that you're not also going to get directions. Like, the influencer will serve as the GPS. Like, I got this brand in my inbox. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Or can you please make sure that you get the most, compensation out of this? Like, those are just decisions that only an influencer can make, because for the most part, for me, like, if I think that a brand deal is not worth their time because I think it's too low, I will make that recommendation. But ultimately, if they really want to work with this brand, this is a dream brand, they're willing to do whatever it takes to open that door. Like, I have no autonomy. Like, for me, like, whatever they say goes, even if I don't like it. So what would be the reasons why these creators that actually succeed with a manager, why would they hire a manager? Like, some of the big indicators for me when I talk to potential talent is they have a busy inbox. It's becoming unmanageable for them, in a sense where they're spending all of their time or most of their time in their inbox negotiating. They're not able to have any time to do anything else. Or maybe they have a 9-to-5 and they have a really busy inbox. They're starting to miss opportunities because of it. You want to venture out into other projects and you don't want your brand deal income to suffer. And so you want someone that's reliable and has, that skill set to take that on. When you see that your content is suffering because you're spending so much time in your inbox, that's also a good indicator that you need a team member, whether that's a VA or a manager. Like when the top of the funnel, which is your content or that production, is suffering and you're not able to produce as quality of a content and stuff like that, that's when you know you need to have help. And the last thing obviously is like you've done your best and you need someone who's just as good or better than them to scale. Like you've done everything in your power to scale and you're just like, I'm just hitting the ceiling and I can't break past it and I just need someone to help me break that. And if you see a common trend here, these creators hire managers out of necessity to manage the demand, not create it. And I think the misconception of a lot of creators is that they think that, you know, they're going to create the strategy, they're going to implement the strategy, all of that stuff, when like, no, like it is still your job to figure out how to attract the brand, build those connections with the brand, and build that demand. Because otherwise that management service is really useless because it's a team effort. A manager can't create that demand for you. And a manager also can't coach you on what to do. Like they can make recommendations of what they've seen other creators do, but ultimately they're not going to be a coach and helping you implement or customize whatever that thing that other creators are doing and tailor it to your case. Like they're not strategists. And when they're hiring managers, every single time that I have, you know, conversations with influencers and creators who are extremely busy and are looking for a manager, they are always very hesitant. They are always like looking at every nook and cranny to make sure that this is the right next step and this is the right decision, this is the right agency for them, because again, they know the monetary commitment when they hire a manager. Like 20%, you guys, is a lot of money, and I'll break that down in numbers too, because, you know, I love numbers, but it's a lot of money that they're giving up when they're used to keeping 100% of it. And so with them, you know, there has to be some sort of trust that needs to be built. Like you are essentially managing and supervising your manager to see if they're doing a good job, or if they're doing, you know, what you would have done, or if they're doing it better. You know, they're incredibly protective of what they've built so far to hand their business over to a manager. And so let's talk about it in the numbers perspective. So let's say you make $100,000 every single year in brand deals. So when you hand that off to a manager, you know that 20% of that, 20%, at least for me, is 20% of that you owe to a manager. And so if you break that down monthly, that's about $1,600 to $1,700 a month. So now your take home is about $6,600 versus the 8-ish K months that you do on your own. Like, so you have to ask yourself, like, can I live off of that 80%? And if your business is not at that point where it's livable income, it will be the wrong move and a waste of your time to be handing things off to a manager where they're taking 20% of your money that you're earning every single time, when you can learn how to do that on your own, until it gets to that point where, yeah, okay, I'm okay to live off of the 80%. And this is what I tell, you know, my content creator students: only look for a manager when you feel like you've exhausted all of your tools to secure those brand deals. You've become, you know, proficient in how to advocate for yourself, and you're consistently getting results, but you're hitting a cap because you feel like you're stretching yourself out too thin, or you just don't know how to elevate that to the next level. And I say that why? Because when you're at this level of expertise about your creator business, whoever your manager is, you guys, you'll be able to evaluate if the manager is doing a good job, if not better than you. They're always going to be a team member. They're not going to be the CEO of your business. You're the CEO of your business. And so you have to take ownership of, like, everything leads to me. Like, if things don't work out, this is my responsibility. That is something that I've had to learn the hard way, because, you know, sometimes I will put the blame. Like, when something doesn't work out, I will put the blame on my team sometimes. But ultimately, it comes down to my leadership and the way that I handle things, or how accountable I am. And when that isn't fixed from the top, then it's not going to be fixed at the bottom with your team, with the people that work for you. And I know you're probably thinking, Naomi, is it even possible for me to hit a 6-figure income as a content creator and influencer without a manager? Is it possible for me to like do this myself? Like, how do I even get to that point? I'll tell you guys a few stories of some of the creators that I've mentored and I've trained myself. So the first one, she's a micro influencer and she actually enrolled in my Spawn Master course. She's a beauty creator, micro influencer, and she's already creating a lot of visibility for herself. Like, she has brands reaching out to her already, but the only thing was like she didn't know how to handle the business side. And so she decided, okay, I'm gonna enroll in a course. Within 9 months, you guys, she hit $100,000 in brand deals of having me as her coach. She actually got approached by an agency and she decided, okay, like, I'm going to trial this agency out. She hired the manager and they did a 3-month trial period, and she actually left after the 3-month trial period. I saw that kind of unfold on stories, like she had it on her close friends, and I reached out to her and I was like, congratulations, you got a manager now. How is that going? And she actually replied back and she was like, I hate it. I don't think I'm going to sign the year-long contract. I'm only on a trial period, but I hate it. Like, I can literally negotiate way better than my manager can. Obviously, to me, like, that felt good because that's a testament of, like, you know, things that she's learned in the program. But also, like, I love that confidence of her, like, you know, she's been able to generate that 100K on her own, that like now she's making sure that that bar is high for her when she's looking for a manager. Yeah, I'm not going to sign the year-long contract after this trial is done, and I kind of want to do it another year without a manager and see how I do before considering a manager again. For me, it was always in the back of my mind that I was like, okay, maybe, like, you know, later down the road I can offer management to her if she's ready. She wanted to duplicate the same results that she had done that same year. 6 months later, she reached out. She asked me if I would be her manager. I was just like over the moon. It kind of felt like things went full circle of, like, you know, she started out like in my program. I've been able to help her qualify for this highly coveted management service. At the time, she was already actually almost close to making $200,000 on her own. And I kid you not, you guys, like, these brand negotiations that I had for her were so easy and so effortless because she has already created that demand on her own, to where the only things that I really improved on is obviously like few tweaks on the communication and the messaging when we're getting objections with the rates, and also increasing the rates and making sure that, you know, we draw that line in the sand, we draw those boundaries really clear. When she hired me, she was already bordering $200,000, and I maybe helped her create maybe 40 grand of that. She was like really excited, and she was like, you know, I'm so excited that I'm almost at 200,000. I can't wait for 2024 and increase that even more, because she was getting brand deals left and right, and that was the demand that she's created for herself. But at the time, she was pregnant, and her pregnancy got to a point where it was unbearable for her to show up to work, in a sense where she was getting morning sickness and she was always sick. She didn't feel like she could make deadlines in that capacity, in that demand for brands. And so she wanted to scale back on the work that she's doing. And she was telling me, hey, like, because I'm going to have this baby and I'm going to prepare to, like, you know, have 3 kids and things like that, I want to be able to take a step back from brand deals and going all ham. And she was like, I know that that was our plan for 2024 and I thought I could handle it, but I just can't, like, just with her physical health. And obviously I had mixed emotions. I was bummed that she didn't want to have a manager anymore, and we like, I was so excited to work with her because we've gone on events together where I helped her shoot, and, you know, she brought me as her manager, which was so cool. But in that same vein, I was very, very proud of her as her coach. I was like, I love that she doesn't depend on a manager for the success of her business. And I love that she has gotten her business skill set and her company to a point where it can stand on its own without a manager. There's also another creator that I coached, and she reached out to me, I believe it was end of 2021. So she runs a really huge pet account, and it's like she's a mega creator. She has multiple millions of followers on TikTok and Instagram. And she was frustrated with her situation because, as someone with such an established platform, she wasn't able to monetize it very well. She was represented by a management agency that took a large percentage of her brand deal payments. And these brand deal payments weren't even huge payments. For someone with over 1 million followers, like, she wasn't making nearly enough. And on top of that, the management was taking their cut. And so she decided to take matters into her own hands, reached out to me, and enrolled in the Spawn Master. And after going through that program, today she's now confidently able to negotiate brand partnerships by herself without a manager. I don't think she has looked for a manager again after firing her agency. In Q1, like the first quarter of that year after she fired her agency and was negotiating on her own, she's been able to profit 4 times the amount of brand deals that she landed in all of 2021 working with her manager. And she's worked with a lot of really notable brands like, Elf, Casetify, Instagram. And those are really big opportunities that she knew how to advocate for, and she knew how to close herself. And by the end of that year, 2022, she actually secured her first 6 figures in brand deals. On the flip side, what actually happens when you bring on a manager too soon? You have no control of your business. You're relying on someone else to create that business for you. So one of my students who's in one of my programs, she and I had lunch, and we were just like, obviously getting to know each other and also talking about the industry. She has friends who went straight from, just creating content to a manager without really like learning how to secure the brand deals themselves. And she was telling me that her friends are actually scared that their management is going to drop them the moment that things slow down, the moment that they stop getting really quality inbounds, or their views and engagement go down. They're scared because what to do, or like they don't know how to combat that, or they don't know what they need to do if things slow down. And she was actually telling me like, I'm so grateful that I decided to learn the business first before being in a position where, okay, like, let me see if, hiring a manager would make sense for me. And I actually posted this on Threads the other day, and I said, the worst place to be as a content creator and influencer is when you have a codependent relationship with a manager and you feel like you can't create cash flow without them because you never took the time to learn how and master how business is made effectively. Your creator business should be able to stand on its own without one. And you guys, like, I've heard so many horror stories about management, and it's not even funny how crazy these are, and how like creators just don't know any better, because a lot of them think that the manager is gonna have my back, and this is because they just don't have that backbone or that foundation of like, this is what I know is good and this is what I know that is bad, and they don't know if they're being taken advantage of. Like, for example, if you were to get asked to sign a contract that you didn't know how to read, maybe your manager could miss something, or they could decide to shave money off the top before it got to you, which is a true story, by the way, and you wouldn't have known until it was too late and you can't get out of it. Like, you have to understand how to do all these things before handing it off to a manager, so that okay, like, they are doing right by me and they are doing exactly what I would have done or better, and I trust them. Like, you have to have that trust, and that trust has to be built on. Or maybe your manager made you accept a brand deal that doesn't align with your brand because they already said yes without your approval. Or maybe they promised to pitch you to brands when all they're doing is automating mass pitches of their entire roster, and you see them, pitching to a mommy brand, and you're not even a mom, which also true story. Like, I remember it was actually one of my friends. She was in an agency, and they promised, I think, to pitch her 50 times a month. I don't know if it was 50 or 100. I don't remember, but it was a lot of pitches every single month, which is what like attracted her to this agency. And she realized that they were just mass pitching the entire roster to random brands, and like there are even brands that she wouldn't even promote. And this is exactly why I created these programs that I have, is because I know that influencers and creators don't have the right support, and they don't have the right guidance. And immediately when you think support and guidance as an influencer and creator, even if you're not even in the industry, you immediately think, oh yeah, like they probably have a manager. For me, like I take pride in helping creators and influencers become better business owners, because that really bleeds into how you manage your manager, what kind of relationship you will have with a manager, what kind of success you will create with a manager. And for me right now, I actually have 3 active management clients who hired me as their coach first. As their coach, I knew that they had that potential, but I also gave them the same qualifications and the same parameters. Like once their business was solid in the income they're generating in brand deals and they wanted to expand, like I offered them my management service because I know that I taught them well. But I told them, you are already on track to be in a position where you can hire a manager. And so I will just tell them, okay, right now you're at 5K. Okay, right now you're at 6K. Just keep doing what you're doing. And once you get close to that 8K mark, reach out to me and we'll talk. The bottom line lesson to be learned here is that I think you guys need to shift your focus a little bit of like, okay, I need to find the best manager, the best agency. Instead of hyper fixating on that, figuring out the root of the problem. So it has nothing to do with who is the one helping you. I think for me, the question that you need to be asking yourself is like, how can I get it to that level, like that I want it to be? And I think you guys should not hyperfixate on a manager, but hyperfixating on a solution. And so what should you actually have in place before you hire a manager? So obviously, you guys know this, you should have followers, consistent views, consistent content calendar, a consistent portfolio. So if you're a UGC creator and followers is not really like your thing, but like having a portfolio of content that is actually really good at driving conversion, driving views, driving engagement, things like that. I think you should also know what you're good at. So whether that's conversion, story views are really high, you have quality content because you use really high quality materials and editing and things like that. You know how to make things go viral. Or maybe you have a really highly engaged community who is picking up every single thing that you're putting down. You are creating marketing content consistently, even organically. So you have to practice that as much as possible and figure out, okay, I know exactly what type of brands, what type of content I need to create in order for this to do well with a brand. You should also have consistency in income, and we've talked about this. You know exactly what buttons to push to generate that demand from brands when things are slow. So you know how to replicate those results yourself. You didn't just get lucky with one brand deal, but you know exactly how to create those brand deals over and over and over and over. And the last thing is obviously demand in the marketplace. Like you are attracting big brands with the big budgets and you're building relationships with them. So to get to that point where a manager makes more sense, you guys have to face a problem that you're working too hard to avoid. You have to learn the business side of being an influencer and creator and being a master at it. And I think a lot of us, I've had this problem as well. You've hyper fixated on finding the right agency, the best agency, finding a manager, instead of finding the solution. Because, you know, the problem is the goal is, okay, I want to make 10K months. I want to make this my full-time career. I want to make X amount of money in brand deals and I want it consistently and all that stuff. Instead of like hyper fixating on the solution being the who, the solution needs to be the how. The solution needs to be the what. What type of support and guidance do you actually need? You guys already know how to grow and create engaging content. Wouldn't it make sense to learn and master the thing that you know the least about? Like for me as a CEO, like I've had to learn marketing, sales, operation systems, all of that stuff before I onboarded a team member. I'm very grateful that I knew how to do it myself, because now with my team member, I know exactly what to tweak. I know exactly what they're doing wrong. I know exactly, okay, like if they're not able to show up, let's say they're sick or they're out on leave or on vacation, I know how to take over. Is your business at that point where you can take that over when your manager fires you, or they dissolve the contract, or they decide, hey, I'm not going to be a manager anymore. Here, take this over. Are you going to be back at square one, or are you going to be at square number 3? Because, and if you don't have these things checked off and you still need help to move that needle forward, I think what you guys need is help in developing a strategy. And for most creators that I've talked to in my inbox, this is usually what creators lack. And so you'll find that in hiring someone who can educate you, a mentor, a coach, a strategist, someone who's been in your very shoes, and someone who has the perspective that you need to succeed, so that you don't have to spend so much time guessing or throwing spaghetti on the wall hoping it sticks. And lucky for you, I do both. And this is exactly why I've developed programs for influencers and creators to really learn the business side and master it and be really proficient in running their business and monetizing, because I know that on the beginner intermediate level, there's a lot of gaps that you guys don't know. You think that managers only have access to, but that's completely untrue. Like, you have 100% access to being able to do what a manager does for yourself and keeping 100% of the money. Let's go over the difference between, whether or not you need to hire a coach or a strategist versus hiring a manager. So if you're not showing up for yourself in your business consistently, you're always getting in your own way, you're breaking your own promises to yourself. Oh, I'm going to make X amount of money as a creator this year. And you're still treating it like a hobby. You're still in the hobby phase because you lack discipline and self-accountability. You need a coach. If you're growing a huge following, but you're not attracting quality brands with high budgets, there's a problem with your content strategy and positioning when you reach out to brands. And so with that, you need a coach. If you're scared to lose an opportunity for negotiating because you don't know what to say or how to do it with posture, and you just take the first offer, or you say yes to shitty deals because, Naomi, a small deal is better than no deal, you need a coach who can teach you how to make decisions like a CEO and create those boundaries. And if you're finding yourself always reinventing the wheel, jumping from strategy to strategy, you have shiny object syndrome from the newest fad or tip or hack on your For You page. You're not even sticking to one strategy long enough to find results, and you already think it doesn't work. Like, let's say, oh yeah, I pitched 10 brands and it doesn't work, so I gave up and so I stopped doing it. You need a coach because you're not actually productive. You're just busy. And on the flip side, if you're already creating consistent income and brand deals, but you're drowning in your business, your inbox is busy with brands who want to partner with you, and you can't get yourself out of your inbox to actually do what you're supposed to do as a creator, which is create. You have zero time to nurture your community. Like, the tasks that literally bring you the leads, who are the brands, you need a manager. If you understand how your business makes money and you want to delegate this task to someone who understands the business, who understands the industry just as well, if not better, and who can elevate the results that you're already making, not the results you don't have, and communicate your vision for your brand to brands you want to collaborate with, you need a manager. And if you want to create other streams of income, but you don't want your brand deal momentum to lose any steam, then hire a manager. And then if you understand that a manager is just an extension of you, you understand that outsourcing still means you are still the leader of the company, and a manager is just following your lead, that should the amount of brand deal offers slow down, that it is still your job to do something about it, then by all means, hire a manager. So I hope this was helpful, you guys, and I hope this gave you a lot of perspective, or a fresh perspective on management, and really help you guys evaluate and dig deep as to where your business is at, and figure out, okay, like, how am I actually going to succeed in monetizing? How can I create livable income as a content creator, or how can I scale what I currently have. Like, I hope this podcast was informative enough for you guys to understand what kind of support you actually need in order for you to get to the next level of your business. And so I hope and so thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys stuck with me through the end. Love ya, mean it.